Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Well, with Cadia once again coming back into the spotlight lately. Today, we're discussing one of the big unanswered mysteries of the Custodes, with their secret mission to the fallen world of Cadia. No real need for a spoiler warning today, so we're wasting no time and jumping straight in. Okay, so back in the 2018 Custodes Codex, there was a very mysterious little entry titled Into Shadow. Upon the direct orders of Trajann Valoris, a small, fast-moving force of custodians makes haste for the ruined remains of Cadia. Details of their mission are suppressed, even amongst their comrades, but they are accompanied by a number of warriors drawn from the ranks of the Shadow Keepers. I really miss having the event timelines in the codexes. You'd always get one or two of these little mysterious events that really just fleshed out the universe, made you wonder and think, as well as the maps. I really miss having the maps. When I was a kid back in 2nd edition, I'd spend ages just looking at the maps in the codexes, looking at where all the various Space Marine homeworlds were and stuff. I really hope we get those things back in the next edition. But I digress. What a mystery! Valoris sending a small, fast-moving force on a mission straight into the ruins of Cadia. For a reason apparently even most of the force itself doesn't know. Accompanied by custodians of the Shadow Keepers. Who are the Shadow Keepers for those new to the hobby? Well, they are the branch of the custodians adorned in black. The wardens of the dark cells buried deep beneath the Imperial Palace. The Custodes Codex explains it best. There are terrible things locked away beneath the Emperor's palace. Eldritch terrors from the depths of old night that could annihilate the Imperium. To the Shadow Keepers falls the duty of standing guard over them unto the end of time. Now, just what these threats and secrets are locked away beneath the palace, we will most likely never know for sure. The closest we've ever really come to seeing them was when Cypher was imprisoned there within his novel, sent to the cells by Guilliman after he had assisted him during the Terran Crusade. Now, I've never really liked the idea of Cypher escaping the cells beneath the palace, what is surely the most heavily defended and secure prison in the entire Imperium. However, it was handled pretty well, retconning the mysterious warp assault post-Cadia's fall on the cells to coincide with Cypher's imprisonment, having the Custodes busy having to contain the real monsters and dangers escaping, the far bigger threats, than a few simple Space Marines, having Cypher's escape a mere side note rather than the main event itself. But anyway, the cells are a mystery. So why did Trajann Valoris dispatch a force of Custodes to the ruins of Cadia in the wake of its fall? Why was it secret, even to the men themselves? And why were the Shadow Keepers part of the force? And, well, before we even get to the theories, how on earth have we not had a novel following this elite group of Custodes on this mission? This could be an action epic for the ages. Mystery, intrigue, action, custodians. Especially with it being so soon after Cadia's fall. Just the mere image of that small elite group of Custodes heading right into the mouth of the enemy. It gives me chills just thinking about it. This is the kind of thing that makes 40k untouchable. How a single teasing passage in a codex can fill you with such imagination. Just so good, it really is. Now for me, the presence of the Shadow Keepers likely implies that Cadia housed a grave threat to the Imperium in some manner. A threat that was perhaps imprisoned, and that possibly escaped or may have been revealed during the planet's destruction. There's a passage within the Custodes Codex describing the duties of the Shadow Keepers that perhaps adds some weight to that. For 10,000 years the Shadow Keepers have performed their duty, yet the coming of the Great Rift changed everything, with the powers of chaos spilling raw and seething into the spaces between the stars. New abominations have come to light. Worse still are the cells that stand suddenly empty. The entities and artifacts once contained within, spirited away by some unholy force to curse the galaxy once more. Fearing the consequences of such dread remnants of the Age of Strife falling into the wrong hands, the Shadow Keepers at last sent warriors out into the galaxy. These jailers must trammel that which should not be, slaughtering all who seek to impede them, before returning their foul prizes to the cells where they belong. So that could imply a couple of options there. The first, a new abomination coming to light, that something previously unknown was revealed during Cadia's fall, and that somehow the report reached Valoris' ears. And in realising just what that threat was, the Captain General decided he had no choice but to risk sending a force into the heart of the enemy. Or secondly, that rather than a new threat, it's instead something that got spirited away from the dark cells, and something that Valoris has to prioritise being recaptured. Now obviously that one doesn't work in regards to the fall of Cadia, as the cells were only assaulted by, assumedly, chaos after Cadia fell, and some time after that, with Cypher's novel apparently changing it to be after Guilliman reached the Throne World as well. So it would have to be something that Valoris expected to be found on Cadia. Perhaps something that was defeated there during the world's conquest. It is also worth mentioning here that the original population of humanity upon Cadia were Chaos worshippers, ultimately wiped out by Exterminatus. So Cadia most certainly had a dark history. Now for me, I find it less likely that this mission's objective was something that escaped from the Dark Cells, simply because Cadia's early history is immersed with the heresy. And I get the feeling most of the contents or prisoners of the Dark Cells would have had to have been placed there by the Emperor himself. And that of course means prior to the Horus Heresy. In fact, quite a long time prior to it as well. If these things are such grave threats to the galaxy, well then it must have required the Emperor's involvement to stop them. Especially if it's things from old knights. The Emperor and Malcador kept history of that time largely locked away, and for good reason. So I'd say, in my opinion, it's more likely to be a new threat discovered, something that Trajann has to risk a lot to contain. However, there is another intriguing link to the Custodes with Cadia, which could somehow be involved, and that's the slaying of Custodian Vendatha upon Cadia by the traitor Primarch Lorgar. After Lorgar's chastisement on Monarchia, the Emperor left a force of custodians with the Word Bearers to watch over them, And it was after this that Lorgar and the Wordbearers Legion discovered Cadia, and thus the chaos-corrupted civilization upon it. Then, with Lorgar watching the people perform a human sacrifice, Vendafa realised Lorgar was on the brink of heresy. Vendafa put up a good fight, remaining loyal to the Emperor to the last, taking 3 Wordbearers with him. But of course he ultimately fell, and was made one of the human sacrifices by Lorgar, impaling the custodian upon a stake. Could Vendafa's death in some way be linked to this mysterious quest of the custodians 10,000 years later? Perhaps it might be unlikely, but the link is undeniable. Maybe Vendafa's remains and armour had been found and entombed upon Cadia. A sacred relic Valoris refuses to lose. Or maybe Vendafa's loyal remains somehow became corrupted. A possessed beast Valoris could not stand to be free. Though admittedly that one's highly unlikely. It's a bit of a stretch to see how this could be connected to the Custodes mission, but again it's an obvious connection. However, perhaps of all the possible theories I can think of, the most likely could well involve the infamous Necron Trajann the Infinite, as Trajann was present upon Cadia during its final stand, even battling to save the doomed world. And as part of Trajann's efforts against the forces of chaos, he unleashed several Imperial elements of his collection, including a Heresy-era Ultramarine force, not to mention Inquisitor Greyfax. However, one of those elements he unleashed was an Imperial Custodian. We don't know who or what the ultimate fate was of this loyal servant, but perhaps if reports reached Valoris of a custodian upon Cadia, one of which he has absolutely no knowledge of, or if it was revealed by the Inquisition, Inquisitor Greyfax, to have come from Trajann's collection, could Valoris just have decided it was worth a risky mission to find and acquire him? A custodian who quite possibly walked and spoke with the Emperor himself. A custodian who maybe knew the fate of Constantine Valdor, or maybe even was Valdor himself. Regardless of what Trajann Valoris hoped or believed, the possibility of a custodian out there from a time the Emperor himself spoke, who could impart uncountable knowledge from a time lost, surely that would be reason enough to just try and find him, to see if he survived. Because if anyone could have, it would be a custodian. There's still remnants of the Cadian defenders there upon the ruins of Cadia, as revealed in Creed Ashes of Cadia, so I wouldn't rule out a custodian surviving completely. So, maybe far from a threat of old knights returned, or an escapee of the dark cells, maybe Valoris risked sending an elite force of Custodes into the jaws of chaos, quite simply for the hope of finding one of his own. But as always everyone, what do you think? What do you think this mysterious force of custodians was sent to Cadia for? And why do you think it contained the forces of the Shadow Keepers? Were they sent there to bring in a threat of old knights escaped? Or was it maybe something to do with the custodian's past? Was it in some way related to Vendafa's death? Or could Valoris possibly have heard of the mysterious custodians sighted during Cadia's final stand. As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.